He thought it was just a cracked alleyway, a forgotten corner of the city. Then he saw the door, old, wooden, impossible. One step inside, and nothing was the same. Days blurred, memories fractured, and a version of himself he didn't know existed was waiting on the other side. Now, the question isn't if he'll find the door again. It's whether he'll survive what's behind it. He wakes before the alarm again. The gray light seeps through the blinds, painting faint lines across the ceiling. His room is silent except for the hum of the refrigerator in the next room. Another day exactly like the one before. He moves through the motions. The shower, the instant coffee, the same creased shirt. The city outside is alive but distant, wrapped in noise that never reaches him. On the train, faces blur together. Tired, lifeless, detached. He tries to remember the last time he looked forward to anything. Nothing comes. At work, the clock's hands drag. The office buzzes with conversation that never seems to include him. He types, answers emails, stares at the monitor, and watches the cursor blink like a heartbeat he doesn't feel anymore. Lunch passes without taste. Evening crawls in. The fluorescent lights flicker once before shutting off, and he realizes he stayed behind again, the last one to leave. He packs his bag slowly, feeling the weight of repetition pressing against his chest. The streets are damp from an earlier rain. His shoes tap against the pavement in steady rhythm, echoing through the narrow alleyways. He takes the same route home as always, head down, lost in the monotony of thought. But tonight, something feels different. The air is heavier, colder. There's a faint humming sound, soft and distant, like machinery buried deep underground. He looks up. At the far end of the alley stands a door. It's plain, wooden, and slightly ajar, with a dull yellow light spilling from the crack. He stops walking. He's passed this alley every night for years, but he's certain the door was never there before. The walls on both sides are crumbling brick, and behind the door is only darkness. He tells himself it's probably nothing, an old service entrance or a trick of the light. But his chest tightens as curiosity stirs, sharp and uninvited. He takes a step closer. The hum grows faintly louder. The light flickers once, then steadies. He notices details now. The chipped paint, the faint warmth radiating from the wood, the handle that seems slightly wet, like someone had just touched it. He hesitates, every instinct urging him to turn back. Yet the thought of returning to the same lifeless apartment feels worse than whatever waits beyond. He reaches out. The handle is cool against his palm. For a moment, he sees his reflection in the polished metal. Tired eyes, hollow expression, the face of someone who's been waiting for something he can't name. Then he turns it. The door creaks softly open. Inside, there's nothing but a narrow hallway lined with peeling wallpaper and flickering lights. The air smells faintly of dust and rain. He steps inside, drawn by something he doesn't understand. And in the instant his foot crosses the threshold, the humming stops. Everything goes silent. He blinks. The hallway disappears. He's standing in the alley again. The door is gone. Only the faint smell of wood and metal lingers, as if the world had swallowed it whole. He turns in circles trying to make sense of what just happened. There's no trace of the door anywhere. The walls are bare, wet from the rain, and the hum is gone. He exhales, shaky, telling himself he imagined it. Too much work, not enough sleep. That's all it is. Yet as he walks home, something inside him feels off, as though a line has been crossed, a small tear made in the fabric of his reality. And when he unlocks his apartment door, he pauses. For a brief, disorienting moment, he's not sure it's really his. And the next morning, everything looks the same, but he can't shake the feeling that something's missing. He goes through the routine, coffee, train, work, but small gaps begin to appear. He loses track of time. He looks at the clock, and an hour has passed that he doesn't remember living. A coworker asks if he's all right. He says yes, though he's not sure. By evening, he's thinking about the door again. He returns to the alley. It's empty, just brick walls and shadows. He lingers there longer than he should, half hoping the door will reappear. The next day, it happens again. Another missing hour. He finds himself at his desk with no memory of walking there. His coffee cup is empty, though he doesn't remember drinking it. He asks around, but no one noticed anything strange. Then, at lunch, he checks his phone's photo gallery and freezes. There's a new picture, one he didn't take. It's the alley, the same door, half open, glowing faintly yellow. That night, he doesn't go home right away. He walks the streets until they blur, checking every alley, every turn. Nothing. The city feels foreign now, as if it's hiding something from him. When he finally returns home, the apartment door resists for a moment before opening. Inside, the air feels heavy again, thick with silence. He looks around and notices the lamp has moved. His shoes are in the wrong place. The framed photo on the shelf, the one of his parents, is tilted slightly to the left. He stands there, frozen. He can't remember touching any of it. He spends the night awake, the thought repeating like a quiet whisper in his head. He saw the door. It disappeared. Then, it returned in his phone. He starts to wonder if it's following him, or if he never left it at all. The following week unfolds in fragments. He wakes at his desk without remembering how he got there. His coworkers. Conversations sound slightly delayed, like an echo reaching him from another room. The lights seem too bright, the air too still. When he tries to focus, a dull ache forms behind his eyes. Every night, he walks home through the same streets, searching for the alley where the door appeared, but it's never there. He tells himself he imagined it, but doubt gnaws at him, quiet and relentless. One morning, he notices his coffee mug sitting on the opposite side of the table. He's certain he always keeps it on the right. His phone vibrates with a calendar notification for a meeting he doesn't recall scheduling. When he checks the organizer, it's his own name. He attends the meeting out of confusion, only to find it doesn't exist. His manager says no such appointment was planned. He laughs it off, pretending it was a mistake, but inside he feels something cracking. At home, the small changes multiply. The fridge hums a different tone. A book he left open is now closed. The handwriting in his journal looks unfamiliar, even though it's undeniably his. One page reads, "Don't forget who you are." The message feels like a warning, but he can't remember writing it. He flips through the rest of the notebook and finds lines that don't make sense. Fragments of addresses, sketches of doorways, and a sentence repeated 3 times. "It was never there until I saw it. Sleep offers no escape." His dreams are too vivid. In them, he's standing in the same alley, but this time he walks through the door and doesn't come back. Inside is a world almost identical to his own, yet brighter, cleaner, alive. People greet him by name. He feels lighter, confident, whole. When he wakes, the warmth lingers for a few seconds before fading into gray morning light. He begins to crave that feeling, the version of himself that exists on the other side. At work, a coworker named Mara comments that he seems happier lately. The words catch him off guard. She insists he's been more talkative, that he even joined the team for drinks the other night. He denies it, but she laughs, thinking he's joking. Later, another colleague thanks him for sending a report he never wrote. His email shows his name on it, but he can't recall typing a word. It's as if someone else is living his days, borrowing his face. He decides to test himself. He arranges the objects on his kitchen table in a perfect line before bed: keys, notebook, wallet, phone. When he wakes, the wallet is gone. He searches frantically until he finds it on the balcony railing, wet from morning dew. Inside, the cash is untouched, but there's a folded slip of paper he's never seen before. Written in his handwriting are 3 words: "Find the door." He spends the entire day restless. The city feels unfamiliar, like it's been subtly rearranged overnight. Street names don't match the maps. A cafe he's certain existed on the corner has vanished, replaced by an empty lot. When he asks a stranger about it, they stare at him blankly and say no cafe ever stood there. He walks away, his pulse racing. His world is slipping, details changing like sand beneath his feet. That night, he scrolls through his phone again. The photo of the door is gone. In its place is a new one. Him, standing in front of the alley, eyes open but expressionless. The timestamp matches the night before. He stares at it, unable to breathe. He remembers staying home, locking the door, trying to sleep. Yet the photo proves otherwise. He zooms in, studying every detail, and notices something in the background, the faint outline of another figure standing behind him. Panic grips him. He drops the phone, heart pounding. He rushes to check his door locks, windows, every room. Everything is normal, yet nothing feels safe. He tries to convince himself that he's sleepwalking, that there's a logical explanation. But when he glances at his reflection in the window, it's delayed, his face turning a fraction of a second slower than his body. He blinks hard, and it's gone, as if his mind is playing tricks. Days blur together. He starts writing down everything that happens. Dates, times, small changes, desperate to anchor himself to reality. But even the notes begin to contradict one another. One entry says he worked from home. The next insists he went to the office. His handwriting changes between pages, sharp and slanted in one, soft and careful in the next. He starts hearing faint footsteps at night, always stopping when he listens too closely. One evening, he returns home to find the apartment door already unlocked. Inside, the lights are off, but there's a faint smell of smoke, like burnt wood. His laptop is open on the table, screen glowing with a single file he didn't create, a photo folder labeled Parallel. Inside are dozens of images. His apartment, his office, the streets he walks every day, all subtly different. In one, the sky is orange. In another, his reflection in a window smiles while he doesn't. He stares at them until dawn, trying to understand whether they're real or the product of his unraveling mind. When the first light breaks through the window, he notices a final image he hadn't seen before. It's a photo of the wooden door, wide open, the inside completely dark. Beneath it, a caption reads in neat handwriting, "You're already here." He sits frozen, the sound of the refrigerator filling the silence. He looks around the apartment again, scanning every detail, every corner, and for a fleeting second, he swears the walls don't look the same color as yesterday. He stops trying to tell people about the door. The more he explains, the less they believe him. Their polite smiles and cautious glances feel like walls closing in. He can hear the doubt in their voices, the hesitation in their eyes. Even Mara has started to avoid him. He sees it in the way she hesitates before speaking, in how her laughter fades when he enters the room. It's easier to stay quiet now, to watch rather than speak. Yet silence only amplifies the noise in his head. The dreams continue, sharper each time. In them, he lives another life, confident, unafraid, surrounded by warmth. The other version of him smiles easily and moves through the world as if everything makes sense. He has friends, a home filled with light, and a voice that doesn't tremble. The details are too specific to dismiss. Each time he wakes, he remembers the smell of rain, the sound of laughter, the exact rhythm of his footsteps on polished floors. It feels like memory, not fantasy. He begins to recognize places from his dreams and his waking life. A cafe window reflects the same angle of light. A stranger on the bus wears the same red scarf he saw in the other world. He starts visiting these places deliberately, convinced they're clues. Each time, something happens. A flicker of déjà vu. A strange look from someone who seems to know him. One afternoon, he walks into a bookstore, and the cashier greets him with a smile that freezes halfway. She says, "You're back early." He stares at her, lost. When he asks what she means, she blinks in confusion and apologizes, insisting she's never seen him before. He buys a journal and begins to document every overlap between the two worlds. The entries blur together, half dream, half reality. He notices that the handwriting shifts again, alternating between his own and another that's almost identical but slightly sharper. One night, he wakes to find a new page written in the unfamiliar script. It says, "Stop looking for me. I'm fine here." His pulse quickens. He checks the locks, every window, every corner, whispering to himself that it's just sleep writing. But deep down, he doesn't believe it. The following week, he discovers a USB drive in his jacket pocket. He doesn't remember putting it there. Inside are 3 video clips, each labeled with dates matching the nights he dreamed of the other life. The first shows him sitting at a desk, smiling, talking to someone off camera. The second shows him walking down a street that looks like his city, except brighter, with unfamiliar buildings in the distance. The third freezes halfway through, just his face, staring into the lens, mouth slightly open, as if about to speak. The file ends abruptly, corrupted. He replays it again and again until the image burns behind his eyelids. The boundaries between waking and dreaming crumble. He starts losing entire days. His co-workers mention seeing him in places he never visited. Once, Mara insists she saw him standing outside the office long after everyone had gone home. He laughs nervously, pretending she's mistaken. But that night, when he reviews the building's security feed online, he sees himself standing there, motionless, watching the empty entrance for almost 2 hours before walking away. He starts avoiding mirrors. His reflection feels heavier, slower, more deliberate, as if the person inside the glass is waiting for him to make a mistake. He stops sleeping, afraid he'll wake up somewhere else again. He tells himself it's just stress, a mental collapse waiting to happen. But deep down, he senses it's something older, something that was always there, hidden beneath the weight of his life. The line between him and the other version begins to blur. He finds himself humming songs he's never learned. He knows shortcuts through parts of the city he's never walked. One morning, he answers his phone before it rings. His mind feels split. Half here, half somewhere else, both claiming to be real. He starts recording himself at night, hoping to catch proof. The next day, he finds the footage overwritten. Instead of his own voice, he hears someone whispering softly, almost pleading, "Stay where you are." He looks through the videos again and notices faint reflections on the screen, another figure moving in the background. Sometimes it looks like him, sometimes it doesn't. The details shift depending on how long he stares. He begins to wonder if the other version of himself isn't gone at all, but trying to communicate, trying to take something back. One night, he dreams again, but this time, the other him speaks. They're sitting across from each other in a dimly lit room. The other version looks calm, almost sympathetic. He says, "You shouldn't have opened it. We weren't ready." His voice is steady, familiar, and terrifying. He reaches across the table, placing a hand on his wrist. "You came here because you thought this world would fix you. But it doesn't work that way." He tries to pull away, but the grip tightens. "You're not supposed to exist twice." He wakes gasping, drenched in sweat, clutching his wrist where the touch still burns. On the bedside table lies the same folded note he found weeks ago. "Find the door." Except this time, another line has been added beneath it in the sharp handwriting. "Or it will find you." From that moment, the dreams stop, but the silence feels worse. The city outside hums faintly, like distant electricity, and every time he closes his eyes, he senses something watching from behind the dark. The door hasn't appeared again, yet its absence feels louder than any sound. He starts to realize that maybe he never replaced the other version. Maybe they've been switching places all along, one fading while the other wakes, a balance breaking with every passing night. He looks at his reflection one last time before leaving for work. For a moment, it doesn't move. Then it smiles first. He doesn't remember deciding to call a therapist. The appointment confirmation just appears in his inbox one morning, his name in the subject line, the time already scheduled. He assumes he made it during one of his blackouts, though the thought unsettles him. Still, he goes. The office is small, hidden in a quiet building near the river. The walls are lined with books, the smell of old paper and cedar faint in the air. The woman behind the desk greets him with a soft smile, introducing herself as Dr. Laurel. Her calm voice feels rehearsed, practiced for fragile minds. They begin with simple questions: his sleep, his stress, the hallucinations. He tells her about the door, the gaps in memory, the feeling of being replaced. She listens without interrupting, only nodding occasionally, writing something in her notes. When he finishes, she looks at him for a long time before asking if he's had episodes like this before. He says no, but she tilts her head slightly, as if the answer doesn't surprise her. She opens a folder from the drawer beside her, flips through several pages, and pauses. Then she asks quietly, "Do you remember our sessions from 2 years ago?" He freezes. He tells her they've never met, but she shows him a file with his name on it, dated from years earlier. Inside are notes in her handwriting, descriptions of panic attacks, sleep loss, recurring dreams about a door that leads to a version of himself who's free from guilt. He stares at the words, his pulse rising. He doesn't remember any of it. Dr. Laurel says it's possible his mind has repressed those sessions, just as it might be repressing something deeper. He asks to take the file home. She refuses, gently but firmly, saying it's better they go through it together. In the following weeks, he keeps returning to her office. Their conversations dig through layers of his life he thought he'd buried. His father's death, his failed job interview, the night his apartment caught fire when he was 23. No one was hurt, but he lost everything he owned. She asks how often he thinks about that night. He says almost never. She looks unconvinced. She explains how trauma can fracture memory, how the brain builds doors to protect itself from unbearable truths. He laughs bitterly, saying she's just feeding his delusion. She doesn't argue. She just says, maybe your mind built the door for a reason. Each session leaves him shaken. He dreams of fire, walls melting, smoke curling like whispers. The smell clings to his clothes when he wakes. He tells her about it, and she says it's progress, that the memories are surfacing. But he's not sure he wants them to. When he asks what happens if the door was never a symbol but something real, she answers, then we'll find what part of you needed it to be. Her voice is calm, but her eyes flicker with something else. Recognition, maybe fear. One evening after another restless night, he checks his phone and finds a voicemail. It's Dr. Laurel, her tone urgent, asking him to call back immediately. When he tries, the line says the number is disconnected. He looks up her clinic online, but the website is gone. The building is still there when he visits, but the door bears a for lease sign. The landlord insists no one's rented that unit for over a year. He shows the man the appointment emails, but they vanish from his inbox right before his eyes. The landlord mutters something about stress and locks the door behind him. He returns home and finds a new folder on his kitchen table. Inside are pages from his supposed therapy file, but older, yellowed. Each page describes events that haven't happened yet. The dreams, the missing time, the message that says, find the door. The last entry is dated for tomorrow. It reads, patient shows signs of merging identities. Continue observation, but monitor carefully for crossover. The signature at the bottom isn't hers, it's his. He stares at it for hours, the words burning holes into his thoughts. He wonders if he wrote them during one of his blackouts, or if he's been studying himself all along. The more he reads, the more it feels like a case file of two people trapped in the same mind, one trying to remember, the other trying to forget. He flips through to the final page and finds a photo paperclip there. Him, sitting across from Dr. Laurel. Only this time, she's blurred. Like motion caught in stillness, her face lost in static. He tries to sleep, but every creak in the apartment sounds like footsteps. His dreams return to the same hallway behind the door. Dim light, peeling wallpaper, a low hum. At the far end, a shadow waits, the outline of someone sitting in a chair. He moves closer, heart pounding until the figure lifts its head. It's him, but older, eyes hollow, whispering words he can't hear. He reaches out, and the figure mouths the same phrase again and again. You left me there. He wakes gasping, drenched in sweat, the smell of smoke thick in the air. His clock reads 3:17 a.m. On the floor beside his bed lies the same folder from the kitchen table, open to the last page. A new note is scrawled in fresh ink, shaky but legible. You came back to finish what you started. He looks toward the window. The city outside is still, washed in orange streetlight. In the reflection, he sees the faint outline of a door behind him, just over his shoulder. When he turns around, there's only the wall, plain, unbroken, silent. Yet the smell of burnt wood lingers, stronger now, as though the door is waiting again, patient and unseen. He sits on the edge of the bed until sunrise, staring at the blank wall, trying to remember which life is his. He doesn't tell anyone about the folder or the disappearing therapist. He stops going to work, stops answering calls, and lives in a fog of paranoia that clings to him like damp air. The walls of his apartment feel closer every day, and every sound, a ticking clock, a car outside, sets his pulse racing. He moves through his home like a stranger in someone else's life, finding little things out of place. A cup he doesn't remember using, the blinds drawn when he swears he left them open, a faint burn mark near the wall where the door once appeared. He tells himself it's exhaustion, nothing more. But deep down, he knows Something has changed. One night, as he's pacing the living room, he catches a flicker in the reflection of his window. It's quick, almost imperceptible, a shadow moving behind him. He turns, but there's no one there. Then he hears it, a soft, rhythmic knock coming from the far wall. 3 slow, deliberate taps. His breath catches. The sound comes again, faint but unmistakable. He approaches, pressing his ear against the wall. The knocking stops. He whispers hello, feeling foolish for talking to nothing, but then a voice answers, his own voice. Quiet, trembling, asking to be let out. He stumbles back, heart pounding. The voice grows clearer, repeating his name, pleading. He tries to convince himself it's in his head, some auditory hallucination born of sleeplessness and fear. But when he looks closer, the wall isn't solid anymore. The paint shimmers faintly, like the surface of water. His reflection ripples, and for a moment, he sees something behind it. An outline, a corridor of dim yellow light stretching endlessly into darkness. He blinks, and it's gone. The wall returns to normal, blank and cold. Yet the echo of that voice lingers, like it's waiting for him to answer. In the following days, he starts recording everything. He sets up his phone in the living room, the bedroom, even the kitchen, hoping to catch something he can't explain. Each morning, he replays the footage and finds nothing. But on the 5th night, there's movement. At 3:17 a.m., the same time as his nightmares, the camera flickers. For 3 seconds, the frame distorts, and a figure steps through the doorway of his room. It looks like him, but thinner, hollow-eyed and flickering in and out like static. The figure walks to the wall, presses its hand against it, and whispers something. The audio is garbled, but one word stands out clearly. Switch. Then the figure turns toward the camera, and the feed cuts to black. NHE doesn't remember recording that night. When he checks his phone, the file is gone, but he still hears the word in his head. Switch. He doesn't know what it means, but the sound of it makes his skin crawl. That evening, he sits in front of the wall again, staring at it until his eyes blur. "Who are you?" he asks softly. The voice answers, clearer now, almost calm. "I'm the one who stayed." His body goes cold. "Stayed where?" he whispers. There's a long pause. Then the voice replies, "On the other side." He presses his hand against the wall, and for the first time, it feels warm, almost pulsing, like something alive. The warmth spreads through his fingers, then up his arm, until he feels it in his chest. The voice speaks again, lower this time, steady. "You left me when it burned. You said you'd come back." His breath catches. He remembers the fire, the one that destroyed his apartment years ago. The smoke, the heat, the way he ran. But he'd been alone. No one else was there. At least, that's what he always believed. He pulls his hand away, trembling. The wall is cool again, motionless. But he can't shake the thought that something, or someone, was trapped that night. Maybe not physically, but somewhere between memory and regret. He starts piecing together fragments from the therapy file. Phrases like memory division and self-preservation response. It dawns on him that the door may not have been a hallucination, but a fracture. A split in the fabric of his mind where part of him hid when the fire took everything. A version that never escaped. Sleep becomes impossible. Each night he hears whispers calling from behind the wall, the same words looping over and over. "You promised." The guilt gnaws at him, sharper than fear. He wonders if that part of him, the one he left behind, has been waiting all this time, living in that burned room, watching him rebuild a life he doesn't deserve. He starts talking back, apologizing, begging for forgiveness. The voice doesn't respond. Only silence, thick and heavy, fills the room. By the end of the week, he stopped fighting the idea that the door was real. He knows it's there. Even when he can't see it, he feels it watching him, like an eye behind the wall. And though part of him wants to run, another part is drawn to it, curious, desperate. He begins to wonder what would happen if he opened it again. Maybe he could find the truth. Maybe he could make peace. Or maybe, this time, he wouldn't come back at all. That night, as he sits alone in the dark, the air shifts. The faint smell of smoke returns, stronger now, wrapping around him like a memory refusing to fade. The wall ripples once more, soft and glowing, and the voice whispers his name. Only this time, it doesn't sound like a plea. It sounds like an invitation. He wakes before dawn, though he's not sure he ever slept. The air feels heavier than usual, dense with something unseen. The glow from the wall hasn't faded this time. It pulses faintly, like a slow heartbeat, and each pulse seems to draw him closer. He knows he should leave, but the thought of walking away feels impossible now. He moves toward it, drawn by the faint hum vibrating through the floor. The closer he gets, the warmer the air becomes, until it feels like standing near a furnace. His hand trembles as he reaches out, fingertips hovering just an inch away. He whispers, "If you're real, show me." The wall ripples, light flickering through cracks that weren't there before. Then, for the briefest moment, the surface splits open, revealing the same hallway from his dreams. Narrow, dim, stretching endlessly into shadow. The smell of burnt wood floods the room. He stumbles back, heart pounding, but the door doesn't close. Instead, it widens, the edges warping as if inviting him in. The voice comes again, quiet and patient. "You said you'd come back." He feels his chest tighten. "What do you want from me?" he asks, but the answer doesn't come in words. It comes as a memory. The night of the fire unfolds before him, the smoke thick, the heat unbearable. He remembers shouting, the crackling sound of something collapsing, the blinding light. He remembers running, but now he sees more. He sees himself at the door, reaching for another hand, a trembling, soot-streaked hand that never made it out. The moment freezes, looping over and over until he can't breathe. The truth hits him like a wave. Someone was with him that night. Someone he left behind. The voice from the wall whispers, "You didn't save me." He steps closer to the glowing doorway. "Who are you?" he asks, though part of him already knows. The air hums louder, and from within the light, a figure begins to form, his reflection, but burned, scarred, eyes hollow. It stares at him with quiet accusation. "You made me stay," it says, the voice distorted, layered with pain. "You built a life and forgot what it cost." His throat tightens. "I didn't mean to," he whispers. The reflection smiles faintly, a bitter curve. "Meaning doesn't change what you did." He falls to his knees, shaking. "Tell me how to fix it," he pleads. The reflection tilts its head, studying him. "You can't fix what's already divided. You can only choose." The door widens further, the light swallowing the edges of the room. His apartment seems to fade, replaced by the echo of that hallway. Scorched wallpaper, ash underfoot, the faint drip of water somewhere in the dark. He looks back, but behind him there's nothing. The world he knows is gone. The reflection steps closer, reaching out its hand. "Switch," it says softly, the same word from the recording. He hesitates, fear clawing at him, but the thought of living like this, half a man, haunted by what he left behind, feels worse. He reaches out, their fingers almost touching. The instant they do, everything collapses into white light. When the light fades, he finds himself standing in the burned hallway. The air is thick with smoke, and his body feels heavy, unfamiliar. He looks down and sees the same burns, the same trembling hands. Across from him, through the flicker of firelight, he sees himself, unscarred, terrified, standing in his apartment. The reflection watches him now, eyes wide. "Wait," it says, panic in its voice. But the door begins to close between them, the light dimming to a thin crack. He tries to step forward, but something holds him in place. The world on the other side grows fainter, distant. The man in the apartment screams his name, pounding against the wall. But it's too late. The door seals shut with a sound like the last breath of something dying. Silence follows, broken only by the low crackle of unseen flames. He touches the wall, now cold beneath his hand, and realizes what's happened. The switch is complete. He's the one inside now. For a long time, he doesn't move. The air is suffocating, but he doesn't fight it. He looks down the endless hallway and sees faint shapes shifting in the dark. Outlines of doors, all slightly ajar, leading to places he doesn't recognize. The voice, no longer separate, speaks from within his own thoughts. You're home now. He feels a strange calm settle over him, a numb acceptance that this is where he was always meant to return. Back in the apartment, the man who took his place, or the part of him that escaped, stands before the now solid wall, breathing hard. The burn marks on the floor are gone. The room looks untouched. But in the reflection of the window, the faint outline of another face lingers behind his own, whispering a single word he can barely hear. Tot. He shuts his eyes, trembling, unsure which side of the door he truly belongs to anymore. Days pass, though time feels distorted, bending and looping like film melting under heat. The man in the apartment tries to continue his life, but everything feels off, slightly wrong, as if the world has shifted half an inch to the left. He wakes to find furniture moved, objects missing, lights flickering at odd intervals. Sometimes he catches a reflection that doesn't follow his movements, his face lagging by a heartbeat, eyes darker than they should be. He tells himself it's fatigue, but deep down he knows something followed him through. The wall where the door once was remains smooth and cold, yet faint outlines shimmer beneath the paint, like veins pulsing just below the surface. At night, he dreams of the hallway again, but now he's seeing it from both sides. He walks through endless doors, each leading to fragments of memories he doesn't remember living. A childhood home where laughter turns to static, a classroom where the teacher's face blurs into smoke, a hospital corridor that smells of burning metal. And at the center of it all, he sees himself, burned, silent, waiting. When he wakes, his hands are coated in soot. He scrubs them raw, but the smell doesn't leave. He starts hearing noises in the walls again. Soft scratches, muffled breathing, the creak of footsteps pacing just behind him. Once, as he's brushing his teeth, the mirror fogs over and words appear, drawn from the inside. You're in the wrong place. He drops the glass, shards scattering across the floor. When he looks up again, the message is gone, replaced by his reflection staring back. Only this time, the reflection smiles first. The following evening, his phone rings. The number is familiar, but he can't place it. When he answers, there's only static at first, then a faint voice beneath it. You shouldn't have switched. He freezes. The voice is his own, distorted and distant, echoing like it's coming from the bottom of a well. It wasn't meant for you, the voice continues. You took something that wasn't yours. The call cuts out, leaving only the faint hum of electricity. He checks the call log, but there's no record of it. Sleep becomes impossible. Every shadow seems to move. Every whisper feels like a breath on his neck. He starts locking every door, checking each window, but no amount of security can quiet the sense that he's being watched from the inside out. When he looks into the reflection of the window at night, he sees a faint glow where the wall should be. It's not bright, just enough to outline a figure standing motionless behind it. The shape never moves, never fades, only watches. He begins losing time again. Hours vanish. He'll find himself standing in the hallway, hand pressed to the wall, whispering without realizing it. Sometimes, he wakes in the middle of the night to find the lights on and ash scattered across the floor in the shape of footprints. Other times, he finds notes written in his own handwriting, though he doesn't remember writing them. Each one says the same thing: let me out. By the third week, the wall starts to crack. Thin lines appear across the surface, glowing faintly in the dark like embers beneath skin. He can hear a faint hum now, constant and rhythmic, as if something on the other side is breathing. He tries to patch the cracks, but the paint won't hold. The next morning, the cracks are deeper, the glow brighter. The smell of smoke fills the apartment again, and with it, the soft sound of a heartbeat, not his, but steady, patient, waiting. He begins recording again, desperate for proof. The footage shows him sleeping, tossing restlessly. At exactly 3:17 a.m., the camera flickers and the wall pulses once. A shadow emerges from it, tall and thin, its movements jerky and unnatural, as if struggling against gravity. It leans over the bed, watching him sleep, before bending close to his ear. Though the audio is faint, one word can be made out: return. The shadow then turns toward the camera and dissolves into static. When he wakes and reviews the footage, the file corrupts halfway through, freezing on a single frame, the shadow's face, half burned, half his own. He smashes the phone against the floor, but the image stays burned into his mind. He realizes then that he's never really escaped. The door didn't free him, it only traded one prison for another. The version of himself he left behind is still reaching, still trying to take back what was his. That night, the cracks in the wall widen. The hum grows louder, resonating through the apartment like a heartbeat beneath the earth. He can hear the voice clearly now, no longer pleading but firm. "You took my life, give it back." He grabs a hammer and starts striking the wall, desperate to destroy it, but each hit only deepens the glow. The final strike sends a vibration through the air, and the wall splits open like a wound. Beyond it stands the burned version of himself, calm and unflinching. "You don't belong here," it says quietly. He backs away, but his legs won't move. The air turns thick with heat and smoke, suffocating. "Please," he whispers. The burned figure steps forward, its hand reaching out. "You had your chance. It's mine now." Their fingers touch, and pain floods his body. Heat, fire, guilt, memory. The room dissolves into flames, the walls crumbling into ash. His last thought before darkness takes him is that maybe there was never a door at all, only a boundary his mind created to divide who he was from what he became. When the fire dies, the apartment is silent. The wall is smooth again, unmarked. In the reflection of the window, a man stands motionless, staring out into the city. He looks whole, calm, at peace. But if you look closely, his eyes burn faintly, and when he turns away, his reflection doesn't follow. The apartment is quiet, but it feels heavier than ever. He moves through it cautiously, every step measured, listening for the faint hum that once pulsed beneath the walls. The air smells faintly of smoke and burnt wood, a memory that refuses to fade. The wall where the door had been is smooth, unbroken, yet he knows the boundary is still there, hiding something just beyond perception. He sits on the edge of the bed, hands trembling, trying to steady his breathing, to convince himself that what happened was over. But the silence presses against him, oppressive and accusing. Outside, the city hums as usual, oblivious to the fractures in his reality. He walks through streets that feel both familiar and alien, noting small changes he can't explain. A cafe moved slightly down the block, a lamppost leaning at a different angle, shadows that linger too long. Each detail gnaws at him, a reminder that the door didn't just disappear, it left a scar on his perception, a fracture he can't mend. He tries to reach out to friends, but they sense the change, the subtle difference in his gaze. They ask questions he can't answer, and he turns away, alone once more. He dreams again, but the dreams are no longer vivid corridors. Instead, they are empty rooms, walls stretching endlessly, reflections of himself staring back, unblinking, accusing. He wakes with a hollow ache in his chest, the sense that a part of him has been permanently lost. He begins documenting everything, every sound, every fleeting shadow, every change in his surroundings, trying to anchor himself to reality before it slips completely away. One night, he notices a faint glow beneath the wall, almost imperceptible. He presses his hand to it, feeling the residual warmth of something alive on the other side. The hum returns, low and steady, a heartbeat beneath the surface. He whispers into the darkness, "I'm here." The voice answers, soft but unmistakable, "You've returned, but at what cost?" He doesn't respond, only feels the weight of that missing part of himself, the part that never came back. He walks through the apartment, touching walls, doors, windows, searching for a trace, a sign that the other version of him still exists. He wonders if he can ever reconcile the life he reclaimed with the one he abandoned. In the mirror, he studies his reflection, noting the smallest discrepancies. Shadows beneath his eyes, the hollow flicker in his gaze, the faint smudge of soot he can't wash away. The apartment is intact, but he feels like a ghost in a space he can no longer claim. The sun rises and sets, indifferent. Days bleed into one another. He moves mechanically, eats, drinks, breathes, yet the sense of being watched never leaves. Occasionally, he catches movement in the corner of his vision, a flash of shadow that vanishes when he looks directly. The hum beneath the walls whispers to him at night, a lullaby that is part memory, part warning. He begins to accept that this is his life now, a liminal existence between two worlds, neither fully his, neither fully lost. Finally, he stands by the window, looking out at the city bathed in late afternoon light. The streets pulse with life, unaware of the invisible boundaries that shape him. The wall behind him is smooth, calm, yet he senses it holds secrets he will never fully uncover. He inhales, the air thick with smoke and uncertainty, and exhales slowly. The apartment, the city, the fractured timelines, they are all part of him now. He steps back, feeling the subtle vibration beneath his feet, and for the first time in months, he doesn't flinch. He sits in the quiet, letting the hum lull him into stillness, accepting that some doors are never meant to open fully. Some parts of ourselves forever remain out of reach. He doesn't fight it. He doesn't run. He simply waits, suspended between what was, what is, and what might never be, knowing that the life he lives now is shaped as much by absence as it is by presence. The door may be gone, but its echo lingers, a constant reminder of the thin line between reality and memory, self and shadow. He sits by the window, watching the city breathe beneath the golden light of dusk. The streets move in patterns he recognizes but no longer belongs to. Inside, the apartment is silent, untouched yet subtly altered, as if it remembers the events that unfolded within its walls. The hum beneath the surfaces has faded to a whisper, almost imperceptible, but it is enough to remind him that what he experienced is not entirely gone. He touches the smooth wall where the door once appeared, feeling the faint residual warmth, a ghost of memory that refuses to fade. He reflects on the months of disorientation, the dreams, the missing time, the fragments of himself left behind. The experience has hollowed him in ways he cannot articulate, leaving him both stronger and more fragile, aware of the precarious nature of reality and the fragile boundary between perception and truth. The echoes of the other version of himself linger, soft and accusatory, a quiet presence woven into his consciousness. He breathes deeply, accepting that some mysteries are not meant to be solved, some doors remain closed, and some parts of ourselves are forever inaccessible. Yet, in this acceptance, there is a strange peace, a fragile equilibrium between what was lost and what remains. He closes his eyes, listening to the soft, steady rhythm of the city, and for the first time, allows himself to simply exist, suspended between memory and reality, shadow and self, fully aware that life continues even when the answers never come.